This is Homer's Iliad, translated into English by Robert Fitzgerald. Book 15. Running among the stakes, crossing the moat, many of them were cut down by Danaans. The remnant reached the chariots and stood there, pale with fear, beaten. And now Zeus, on Ida's top, by Hera's queenly side, awoke, and rose in a single bound. He saw the Trojans and Achaeans, Trojans routed, pressed by Achaeans, whom Poseidon joined. Saw Hector stretched out on the battlefield, brothers in arms around him, squatting down where he lay, faint and fighting hard for breath, vomiting blood. The man who knocked him out was not the weakest of Achaeans. Watching, the father of gods and men was moved to pity. He turned with a dark scowl and said to Hera, "Fine underhanded work, eternal bitch. Putting Lord Hector out of action, breaking his fighting men. I should not wonder if this time you will be the first to catch it, a whip across your shoulders for your pains. Do you forget swinging so high that day? I weighted both your feet with anvils, lashed both arms with a golden cord you couldn't break, and there you dangled under open heaven amid white cloud. Some gods resented this, but none could reach your side or set you free. Any I caught, I pitched head first over our rampart, half dead, down to earth. Yet even so, my heartache for the hero Heracles would not be shaken off. You and the north wind had connived, sent gales against that man, brewed up sea perils for him, driven him over the salt waste to Kos Island. I set him free, I brought him back from all that toil to the blue-grass land of Argos. These things I call to mind once more, to see to it that you mend your crooked ways. Learn what you gain by lechery with me, tricking me into it. That's why you came, apart from all the gods." Now Hera shuddered, answering in a clear, low tone, protesting, "Earth be my witness, and the open sky, and oozing water of Styx. The gods can take no oath more solemn or more terrifying, and by your august person too, I swear, as by our sacred bed. How could I lightly swear by that? No prompting word of mine induce the god who makes the mainland shake to do harm to the Trojans and to Hector, backing their enemies. It cannot be anything but his own heart that impels him. Seeing the tired Achaeans in retreat upon their own ships' sterns, he pitied them. But I too, should counsel him to go where you command him, Lord of darkening cloud." At this he smiled, the father of gods and men, and lightly came his words upon the air. "Then in time to come, my wide-eyed lady, supposing you should care to sit with me in harmony among the immortal gods, for all Poseidon's will to the contrary, you must come round to meet your wish and mine. If what you say is honest, then rejoin the gods' company now. And call for Eris, call for Apollo with his wondrous bow. Eris will go down amid the mailed Achaeans with my word to Poseidon, quit the war, return to your own element. Apollo must then brace Hector for the fight and breathe new valor into him, blot from his memory the pangs that now wear out his spirit. Let him shatter the Achaeans into retreat, helpless, in panic, till they reach the ships of Peleus' son, Archelaus. Then that prince will send Patroclus, his great friend, to war, and Hector, in glory before Ilion, by a spear cast will bring Patroclus down, though he destroy a host of men, my son Sarpedon being among them. Aye, for this the prince Archelaus in high rage will kill heroic Hector." From that moment I'll turn the tide of battle on the beach decisively, once and for all, until the Achaeans capture Ilion, as Athena planned and willed it. But until that killing I shall not remit my wrath, nor shall I let another god take part on the Danaans' side. No, not before the heart's desire of the son of Peleus shall have been consummated. So I promised, so with a nod I swore, that day when Thetis touched my knees and begged me to give honor to Archelaus, raider of cities. When he finished, Hera took pains to follow his command. From Ida's crest she flashed to high Olympus, quick as a thought in a man's mind. Far and wide a journeying man may know the earth, and with his many desires may dream, now let me be in that place or that other. Even so, instantaneously Queen Hera passed to steep Olympus. She appeared in the long hall of Zeus amid the immortals, who rose, lifting their cups to her. She passed, ignoring all the rest, but took a cup from rose-cheeked Themis, who came running out to meet her, crying, "Hera, why have you come back? Oh, how dazed you look! Your husband must have given you a fright." To this the beautiful goddess with white arms replied, "No need to ask, my lovely Themis. You know how harsh and arrogant he is. Preside now at our feast, here in the hall of the gods, and with the rest you'll hear what cruelty he shows. Among mortals or gods, I rather think not everyone will share his satisfaction, although one still may feast and be at ease." The lady Hera finished and sat down, and all turned sullen in the hall of Zeus. Her lips were smiling, but the frown remained unsmoothed upon her brow. Then she broke out in her bad temper, "Oh, what mindless fools to lay plans against Zeus! And yet we do. We think we can be near him and restrain him by pleading or by force. But there he sits, apart from us, careless of us, forever telling us he is quite beyond us all, in power and might, supreme among the gods. So each must take what trouble he may send. And this time grief's at hand for Ares. Yes, his son died in the fighting, dearest of men to him. Ascalaphus, the strong god Ares, claimed that man for son. Now Ares smote his thighs with open hands and groaned, "You must not take it ill, Olympians, if I go down amid the Achaean ships to avenge my son, and so I will, though fate will have me blasted by the bolt of Zeus, to lie in bloody dust among the dead." He called to Terror and Rout to yoke his horses while he put on his shining gear. Now soon another greater and more bitter fury would have been roused in Zeus against the gods, had not Athena, gravely fearing for them, left the chair she sat on and come forward out of the forecourt. She removed the helm from Ares' head, the great shield from his shoulder, and laid his spear down, lifted from his hand. Then she spoke to rebuke the angry god. "You've lost your mind, mad one. This is your ruin. No use having ears to listen with. Your self-possession and your wits are gone. Have you not taken in what Hera says, who just now came from Zeus? Do you desire to have your belly full of trouble first, and find yourself again upon Olympus? Rage as you will, brought back by force, moreover bringing a nightmare on the rest of us? In a flash, he'll turn from Trojans and Achaeans and create pandemonium on Olympus, laying hands on everyone alike, guilty or not. Therefore, I call on you to drop your anger for your son. By now some better man than he in strength and skill has met his death in battle, or soon will. There is no saving the sons of all mankind. Then in his chair she seated burly Ares. Hera now called Apollo from the hall with Iris, messenger of the immortals. Lifting her voice, addressing both, she said, Zeus commands you with all speed to Ida. Once you are there and face him, you'll perform whatever mission he may set for you. With this the lady Hera turned away and took her chair again, as off they soared toward Ida, bright with springs, mother of beasts. On Gargaron height they found him at his ease, the broad-browed son of Cronos, garlanded by fragrant cloud. The two gods took their stand before him who is master of the storm, and he regarded them, unstirred by anger, seeing their prompt obedience to his lady. Then to Iris he said, Away with you, Lightfoot, take my message to Poseidon, all of it. Do not misreport it. Say he must give up his part in war and battle, consort with gods, or else go back to sea. But if he disobeys or disregards me, let him remember, for all his might, he does not have it in him to oppose me. I am more powerful by far than he, and senior to him. He has forgotten this, claiming equality with me. All others shrink from that. Then running on the wind, swift Iris carried out his order. Down from Ida's hills she went to Ilion, as snow or hail flies cold from winter's cloud, driven by north wind, born in heights of air. So Iris flew in swiftness of desire, halting beside the earth-shaker to say, O girdler of the earth, sea-god blue-maned, I bear a message from the Lord of Storm. You must give up the battle, must retire amid the gods, or else go back to sea. But if you disobey or disregard him, he warns you he will take a hand in war against you, coming here himself. You would do well to avoid that meeting, he advises, seeing he's far more powerful than you, and senior to you. You have overlooked this, claiming equality with him. All others shrink from that. His face grown dark with rage, the great earth-shaker said, The gall of him! Noble no doubt he is, but insolent too, to threaten me with forcible restraint, who am his peer in honor. Sons of Cronos, all of us are, all three whom Rhea bore, Zeus and I and the lord of those below. All things were split 3 ways, to each his honor, when we cast lots. Indeed it fell to me to abide forever in the grey sea water. Hades received the dark mist at the world's end, and Zeus the open heaven of air and cloud. But earth is common to all, so is Olympus. No one should think that I shall live one instant as he thinks best. No, let him hold his peace and power in his heaven, in his portion, not try intimidating me. I will not have it, as though I were a coward. Better to roar and thunder at his own, the sons and daughters he himself has fathered. They are the ones who have to listen to him. Wind-swift Iris answered, Shall I put it just that way, god of the dark blue tresses, bearing this hostile message back to Zeus? Or will you make some change? All princely hearts are capable of changing, and, the Furies take the part of elder brothers. Poseidon made reply, Excellent Iris. Very well said. That is a point well taken. It is a fine thing when a messenger knows what is fitting. But it irks me his being so quarrelsome, railing at me who am his peer in destiny and rank. I yield, though, but I take it ill, by heaven. There is more to say. With all my power, I warn him, if without me and Athena, Hera and Hermes, and the Lord Hephaestus, he should make up his mind alone to spare steep Ilion, and will not sack it, will not give the Argives the upper hand, then he incurs our unappeasable anger. When he had said this, turning from the Achaeans, into the deep he plunged, and the soldiers missed him. Then, to Apollo, Zeus, who gathers clouds, said, "Go, dear Phoebus, to the side of Hector, now that the god who shakes the earth has gone into the salt immortal sea. He shunned our towering anger. Had he not, some others might have had lessons in the art of war, even the gods below round fallen Cronos. But it is far better for both that, even though he hates it, he give way before my almighty hands. Not without sweat would that affair have been concluded. Well, take for yourself my tasseled shield of storm cloud, and shake it hard with lightning overhead to rout the Achaean soldiers. God of archery, make Hector your own special charge. Rouse his utmost valor till, in rout, the Achaeans reach the ships and Helle's waters. There I myself shall conjure word and act to give once more a respite to Achaeans." Without demurring at his father's words, Apollo glided from the heights of Ida like that swiftest of birds, the peregrine. He found Prince Hector, Priam's son, no longer supine, but just now recovered, sitting up, able to see and know his friends' faces around him. His hard panting and sweating had been eased. The mind of Zeus, master of cloud, reanimated him. And standing near the man, Apollo said, "Hector, why do you sit here weak and sick, far from the rest? What has come over you?" And Hector of the shining helmet answered, whispering hoarsely, "Excellency, who are you? A god? What god, to face and question me? Do you not know that near the Achaean sterns, where I had killed his friends, formidable Aias hit my chest with a great stone, and knocked the fighting spirit out of me? In fact, I thought this day I'd see the dead in the underworld. I thought I'd breathe my last." Apollo, lord of archery, replied, "Be of good heart. The god you see from Ida, the Lord Zeus sent to fight with you in battle. I am Apollo of the golden sword. I rescued you before, you and your city. Up then, tell your host of charioteers to charge the deep-sea ships. I shall go first and cut a passage clean for chariot horses, putting Achaean soldiery to rout." This inspired a surge of fighting spirit in the commander's heart, as when a stallion, long in the stall and full fed at his trough, snaps his halter and goes cantering off across a field to splash in a clear stream, rearing his head aloft triumphantly, with mane tossed on his shoulders, glorying in his own splendor, and with driving knees seeking familiar meadowland and pasture. Just so Hector, sure-footed and swift, sped on the chariots at the god's command. And the Achaeans? Think of hunting dogs, and hunters tracking a wild goat or a stag, to whom steep rock and dusky wood give cover, so the hunters are at a loss, and by their cries rouse a whiskered lion full in their path, at which they all fall back, eager as they have been for prey. Just so, Danaans thronging in pursuit, and drawing blood with swords and double-bladed spears, when they caught sight of Hector coming on toward their front rank, turned round in sudden terror, courage ebbing to their very feet. But now they heard from Thoas, son of Andraimon, bravest of the Aetolians, a tough man at spear-throwing and in close combat too. And few Achaeans bested him in assembly when the young vied in argument. "Bad luck!" he cried. "This marvel that I see ahead! Hector escaped from death. He's on his feet. God knows each one of us had hoped and prayed he died from Aias's blow. But no, some god protected him and saved him. This same Hector broke the strength of many a Danaan, and now he will again. Without some help from Zeus, who thunders in high heaven, he could not lead this charge so furiously. Come then, everyone do as I advise. The rank and file will order to the rear, back to the ships. But we who count ourselves as champions in the army will stand fast. We may contain him if we face him first with ranked spears. Wild as he is, I think that in his heart he fears to mix with us. Assenting to this speech, they acted on it. Those with Aias and Idomeneus, Teucros, Meriones, and the veteran Meges, formed for close order combat, calling first-rate spearmen to face Hector and the Trojans. Meanwhile, the rank and file fell back upon the Achaean ships. All in a mass, with jutting spears, the Trojans came, as Hector strode in command. Apollo, leading him, was cloaked in a white cloud, and held the shield of ominous storm cloud, with its trailing fringe. The smith Hephaestus gave this shield to Zeus, to carry and strike fear in men. Apollo handled it now as he led on the Trojans. All in a mass the Argive captain stood, and a sharp cry rose from both sides. The arrows bounded from bowstrings. Then from bold men's hands a rain of spears came. Some stuck fast in agile fighters' bodies. Many between the ranks fell short of the white flesh and stood aquiver, fixed in earth, still craving to be sated. As long as Phoebus held the shield of storm cloud motionless, from both sides missiles flew, men fell on both. But when he made it quake with lightning, staring Danaans in the face, and gave, himself, a deafening battle cry, he stunned them all, and they forgot their valor. As when a pair of wild beasts in the dusk stampedes a herd of cows or a flock of sheep by a sudden rush, and no herdsman is near, so the Achaeans lost their nerve and panicked. Apollo sent the soul of rout among them, but glory to the Trojans and to Hector. Each man slew his man in the broken field. Hector killed Stichios and Arcesilaus, one a Boeotian captain, and the other a comrade of brave Menestheus. Then Aeneas dispatched Medon and Iasos. The first named, a bastard son of Oileus, and half-brother of Aias. He had lived in Phulace in exile from his own land, having murdered a kinsman of his stepmother Areopis. Iasos was a captain of Athenians, and son, so-called, of Sphelos Bucolides. Polydamas killed Mecistheus. Echios, his father, fell in the early battle line before Polites, and heroic Agenor killed Clonios. As Deiochos ran, Paris hit his shoulder from behind and drove the brazen spearhead through his chest. While Trojans stripped these dead, Achaeans, crowded into the ditch among the stakes, were forced in a wild scramble across the wall. So Hector, with a great shout, called his men, "Sweep on the ships! Let blood-stained gear alone! The man I see on the wrong side of the wall, away from the ships, will die there by my hand. They won't be lucky enough to burn his corpse, his women and his kin. Wild dogs will drag him before our city." Swinging from the shoulder, he whipped his horses on, and called the Trojans after him into the enemy's ragged ranks, and all together, guiding the chariot horses, gave a savage cry. Far in the lead, Apollo kicked the embankment of the ditch into the middle, and so made a causeway, wide as a spear throw when a powerful man puts his back into throwing. Over this they poured in column, led on by Apollo, holding the dusky splendid shield of cloud. As for the Achaean rampart, in one sweep he leveled it, as a boy on the seashore wipes out a wall of sand he built in a child's game. With feet and hands for fun he scatters it again. Just so, Bright Phoebus, you threw down the Argive wall, so long and hard to build, and terrified the Argives. Backed up on the ships, they waited, crying out to each other, lifting prayerful hands to all the gods. Gerenian Nestor, lord of the western approaches to Achaia, stretching his hands out to the sky of stars, prayed, Father Zeus, if someone long ago in Argos of the grain fields offered up fat haunches of a cow or sheep in fire, and begged you for a safe return from Troy, winning your promise and your nod, remember now, Olympian, defend us against this pitiless day. Do not allow Achaeans to be crushed this way by Trojans. Fervently he prayed, and the Lord of Wisdom thundered a great peal, hearing the old man's prayer. And at that peal of Zeus's thunder, Trojans thrilled with joy of battle, running harder after the Argives. Like a surging wave that comes inboard a ship when a gale blows, wind giving impetus to sea, the Trojans crossed the rampart with a mighty cry, and whipped their chariots toward the sterns. Once there, they fought close up with double-bladed spears, attackers from the chariots, defenders high on the black hulls, thrusting down long pikes that lay aboard for sea fights, double length in fitted sections, shod with biting bronze. As long as both sides fought around the rampart, still remote from the ships, Patroclus stayed inside the shelter with Eurypylus to give him pleasure, talking and to treat his aching wound with salve against the pain. But when he knew the Trojans had crossed over, knew by their cry the Danaans were in rout, he groaned and smote his thighs with open hands, and miserably he said, Eurypylus, I cannot linger with you here much as you need me. The big fight begins. One of your men can keep you company, but I must go to Achelous in a hurry to make him join the battle. Who can say if with a god's help I may convince and move him? A friend's persuasion is an excellent thing. Even as he spoke, he strode out. The Achaeans, meanwhile, held position at the ships against the Trojan rush, but they could not repel the Trojans, even outnumbering them, nor could the Trojans break the Danaan line to penetrate amid the huts and ships. But as a chalk line in a builder's hands, a man who learned his whole craft from Athena makes a deck beam come out of straight, just so the line of battle had been sharply drawn. Fighting went on around the various ships. Hector headed for Aias, and these two fought hard for a single ship. Neither could Hector dislodge his enemy and fire the ship, nor could the other force his attacker back, for Hector had Apollo on his side. But Aias downed Caletor, Clytios' son, as he bore fire against the ships. He hit him full in the chest, and down with clanging arms he tumbled, as the torch fell from his hand. When Hector saw his cousin fall before the black ship in the dust, he cried in a loud voice to Trojans and Lycians, Trojans, Lycians, Dardanoi, all soldiers! Now is no time to yield even an inch here in the narrow ways. Defend Caletor, or they will take his arms. He died fighting to win the ships. With this he aimed a cast of shining spear at Aias, but he missed him, aimed then a second cast at Lycophron, a son of Mastor, and a squire to Aias, native of Cythera, but Aias's guest on Salamis, for he had killed a Cytheran. Now Hector cleft this man above the ear with his sharp spearhead, as he stood by Aias. Down in the dust upon his back he fell, down from the ship's stern, flopping, all undone. Then Aias shivered and called out to his brother, Teucros, old soul, our friend, Mastorides, our faithful friend, is dead. When he left Cythera and lived with us, we loved and honored him as much as our own parents, and now Hector has killed the man. Where are your deadly arrows? Where is the tough bow that Apollo gave you? Teucros took it all in, and on the run he came to join his brother. In his hand he held the strung bow and a quiver of arrows. Shooting, he made them flash upon the Trojans, and hit Cleitus, Paesonor's brilliant son, companion of Polydamas Panthoides, as he held hard his reins, in trouble with his horses, trying to hold them close in where the wheeling lines were packed, to do his best for Hector and the Trojans. Now in a flash his evil moment came, and no one by his strength of will could stop it. A quill of groaning pierced his neck behind. He dropped out of the car. The horses reared, then jerked the empty chariot backward, rattling. Lord Polydamas noticed it at once and ran to catch the horses. These he gave to Astanoos, Proteaon's son, commanding him to hold the chariot near and keep his eyes open. He himself went back to join the melee. One more arrow Teucros drew for Hector helmed in bronze, and would have stopped the battle for the ships, if that shot had dispatched him in his triumph. But Zeus perceived it, and he guarded Hector, wrested that boon from Telamonian Teucros, who, as he pulled the smooth bow, snapped the string. The heavy-headed shaft went wide, the bow dropped from his hands, and with a shiver Teucros said to his brother, "Damn the luck! Some god is cutting off our prospects in this fight. He forced the bow out of my hand and broke the new gut I had whipped on it this morning to stand the spring of many shafts." To this Telamonian Aias answered, "Well, old friend, just let the bow and sheaf of arrows lie, since a god wrecked them, spiting the Danaans. Take up a long pike, get a shield, and fight the Trojans that way. Make the soldiers fight. If the enemy is to take the ships, they'll know they are in a battle. Let us hold on to joy of combat." Teucros put his bow inside his hut. He took his 4-ply shield hard on his shoulder, pulled on a well-made helm, picked out a strong shaft shod with cutting bronze, and ran out, taking his stand at Aias' side. Hector had seen that weaponry undone, and now he shouted to Trojans and Lycians, "Trojans, Lycians, Dardanoi, all soldiers! Friends, be men! Take a fresh grip on courage here by the decked ships. I have just seen how Zeus crippled their champions' archery. Easy to see how men get strength from Zeus. On the one hand, when he gives them glory, on the other, when he saps their enemies. Taking the heart out of the Argives now, he reinforces us. Fight for the ships, as one man, all of you, and if one finds his death his end in some spear thrust or cast, then that is that, and no ignoble death, for a man defending his own land. He wins a peaceful hearth for wife and children later, his home and patrimony kept entire, if only the Achaeans sail for home." He put fresh heart in every man by this. But from the opposing line Aias called out to his companions, "Argives, where is your pride? Isn't it clear enough? Either we perish, or else fight off this peril and are saved. If Hector burns our ships, will you get home on foot, do you think? Maybe you cannot hear him calling his whole army on, already mad to fire the ships? No invitation to dance, that shouting, but to a fight. No plan, no cleverness can serve us now but this, to close with them and fight with all we have. Better to win life or to lose it fighting now, once and for all, than to be bled to death by slow degrees in grinding war against these ships by lesser men than we." This roused and stiffened them. Then Hector slaughtered Schedios, son of Perimedes, chief of Phocians, but Aias slaughtered Laodamas, a captain of infantry, Antenor's brilliant son, and Polydamas killed the Cylenian Otar, comrade in arms of Meges, and a captain of Achaeans. Seeing this, Meges rushed, but Polydamas dodged aside, and the spear thrust missed. Apollo would not allow the son of Panthous to perish in that melee. Meges wounded Chroismos instead, full in the chest, and down he tumbled thudding. Meges stripped his gear. Against him then came Dolops, a good spearman, skilled in warfare, valorous, fathered by Lampos, best of men, a son of Laomedon. Dolops, at close quarters, broke through the center of Meges' shield, but his close-woven battle jacket saved him, one that he wore all fitted with bronze plates, a cuirass Philaus, his father, brought out of Ephyra from the Selleis river. Marshal Elphetes, host and friend, had given it to wear as a defense against attackers in war. This time it saved from mortal hurt the body of his son. Now that son, Meges, thrust at the crown of Dolops's helm. He broke the horsehair plume away, and down it fell, resplendent with fresh purple in the dust. While Dolops kept his feet and went on fighting, hoping for victory, the formidable Menelaus came to Meges' aid, obliquely and unseen, and hit the Trojan's shoulder from behind. The famished spearhead, driven hard, passed through his chest, and down head first he sprawled. The two Achaeans bent to strip his shoulders of his gear. Then Hector called to Dolops's kinsmen, first of all to Melanippus, Hicetao's son, who pastured shambling cattle in the old days, in Percote, Troy's foes being far away. But when the ships of the Danaans came, he went again to Ilion, and grew distinguished among Trojans, lived with Priam on equal terms with Priam's sons. Now Hector called to him, calling him by name, rebuked him, saying, Melanippus, are we slackening? Are you not moved at all by your cousin's death? See how they make for Dolops's armor. Go in after them. No fighting at a distance now until we kill them, or they'll storm Troy's height and lay her waste with all her sons. But this he plunged ahead, and the godlike man, Melanippus, kept at his side. Great Aias tried to put fighting spirit in the Argives. Friends, he cried, respect yourselves as men, respect each other in the moil of battle. Men with a sense of shame survive more often than they perish. Those who run have neither fighting power nor any honor. The men themselves wished to put up a fight, and took his words to heart. Around the ships they formed a barrier of bronze. But Zeus rallied the Trojans. Then Lord Menelaus, Clarion in war, said to Antilochus, Antilochus, of all young Achaeans, no one is faster on his feet than you, or tough as you in combat. You could make a sortie and take out some Trojan soldier. He himself hastened on, but roused the man, who ran out with shining javelin poised, and scanned the battle line. Trojans gave way before the javelin thrower, but his throw was not wasted. He hit proud Melanippus, Hicetao's son, beside the nipple as he moved up to battle. Down he went, slumping to earth, and darkness hid his eyes. Antilochus broke forward like a hound on a stricken deer that a hunter met and shot on its way out of a thicket. Even so, Antilochus threw himself upon you to take your gear, Melanippus. But Hector made for him on the run along the line, and fighter though he was and fast, Antilochus would not resist, but fled him, as a beast that has done some depredation, killed a dog or cowherd near the cattle, slinks away before a crowd can gather. Nestor's son ran off like that, while Hector and the Trojans, shouting high, rained javelins after him. Once in the mass again, he turned and stood. And now, like lions, carnivores, the Trojans hurled themselves at the ships. They brought to pass what Zeus commanded, and he kept their valor steadily awake. He dazed the Argives, wresting glory away from them. That day the purpose of his heart was to confer the glory on Hector, Priam's son, enabling him to cast bright tireless fire on the ships, and so fulfill the special prayer of Thetis. Zeus, the lord of wisdom, awaited that, to see before his eyes the lightning glare of a ship ablaze. For, from that moment on, he had in mind reversal for the Trojans, and glory for the Danaans. Knowing all this, he sent against the deep-sea ships a man who longed to burn them, Priam's son, Hector, furious in arms as Ares, raging, his spear flashing, or as fire that rages, devastating wooded hills. His mouth foamed with slaver, and his eyes were flaming under dreadful brows. His helm upon his temples nodded terribly as he gave battle. From the upper air Lord Zeus himself defended him, and gave him honor and power alone amid the host, for he would be diminished soon. A day of wrath for him at Lord Achelous' hands, was being wrought even then by Pallas Athena. Hector, attacking, tried to break the lines at that point where the Achaean soldiery was thickest and their gear the best. But not with all his ardor could he break them. They held hard, locked solid, man to man, like a sheer cliff of granite near the sea, abiding gale winds on their shrieking ways, and surf that climbs the shingle with a roar. So the Danaans bore the Trojan rush and kept their feet and would not flee. But Hector ran with a flashing torch and tried them, first from one side, then the other. And he plunged the way a billow whipped up by a gale beneath dark scud descends upon a ship, and she is hidden stem to stern in foam, as a great gust of wind howls in the sail, and sailors shake in dread. By a hair's breadth are they delivered from their death at sea. Just so Achaean hearts were rent. And Hector was like a pitiless lion coming down on cattle, gone to graze in a great meadow, hundreds of them, tended by a herdsman not yet skilled at fighting a wild beast to prevent the slaughter of a cow. Poor fellow! Either at the forefront of the herd, or at the rear he keeps pace with his cattle. But into their midst the lion leaps to take one as all the rest stampede. Now the Achaeans, under attack by Hector and Father Zeus, broke and ran like cattle. One man only Hector killed, Periphetes, a Mycenaean, son of Copraus, who went back and forth announcing labors that Eurystheus sent for brawny Heracles. The poorer man by far was Copraus, and the son superior in every gift, as athlete and as soldier, noted for brains among Mycenaeans. Now he afforded Hector glory. Twisting back, he tripped upon the body shield he bore full length, shoulder to foot, a tower against all weapons. On the rim he tripped, and, hindered, fell down backward, and his helm rang out around his temples as he fell. Hector's sharp eye perceived this. On the run he reached Periphetes, halted at his side, and speared him through the chest, killing him there, with all his friends nearby. They could not help him, bitterly as they grieved for him, their dread of Hector being so great. The Achaeans now were driven back within the line of ships, those that were first drawn inland. Prow and stern enclosed them. Trojans poured into the shipways, forcing the Argives back from the first ships. Then by the huts they made a stand, massed there, and would not scatter through the camp, constrained by pride and fear, but ceaselessly called out to one another. Nestor of Gerenia, lord of the western approaches to Achaia, implored the soldiers for their children's sake. Be men, dear friends, respect yourselves as men before the others. All of you remember children and wives, possessions, and your parents, whether they be alive or dead. I beg you on their account, although they are not here, to hold your ground. No panic and no rout. So Nestor rallied them. Athena now dispelled the nebulous haze before their eyes, and light burst shining on them, front and rear, from ships and from the battle. They saw clearly Hector of the war cry and his soldiery, those in reserve who had not joined the fight, and those in combat storming the long ships. Now the stout heart of Aias cared no longer to stay where others had withdrawn. He moved with long strides on the ship's decks, making play with his long polished pike, the sections joined by rivets long as 22 forearms. Think of an expert horseman who has harnessed a double team together from his string, and rides them from the plain to a big town along the public road, where many see him, men and women both. With perfect ease he changes horses, leaping at a gallop. That was Aias, going from deck to deck of many ships with his long stride, his shout rising to heaven, as in raging tones he ordered the Danaans to defend them. Neither would Hector stay amid the ruck of battle-jacketed Trojans, like an eagle flashing down on a flock of long-winged birds who feed at a riverside, white geese or cranes or long-necked swans. So Hector struck ahead and charged a ship with its black prow, for Zeus behind him drove him on with his great hand, and cheered on soldiers with him. Now again there was a sharp fight near the ships. You'd say that iron men, untiring, clashed in battle, so fiercely they fought on. And to what end? There was no way to escape, the Achaeans thought. Sure, they would be destroyed, but every Trojan's heart beat fast against his ribs with hope of firing ships and killing Achaean soldiers. These were their secret thoughts as they gave battle. Hector gripped the stern of a deep-sea ship, a fast sailor, a beauty, which had brought Protesilaus to Troy, but would not bring him back to his own land. Around this ship they slaughtered one another in close combat, Trojans and Achaeans. Neither side could stand a hail of arrows or javelins, but for like reasons moved toward one another, hewing with battle-axe and hatchet, wielding long sword and double-bladed spear. The swords were many and beautiful, black-sheathed and hilted, that fell to earth out of the hands of men or off their shoulders. Earth ran dark with blood. Once Hector had the stern post in his hands, he kept a death grip on the knob and gave command to the Trojans. "Fire now! Bring it up, and all together raise a battle shout! Zeus gave this day to us as recompense for everything. Now we may burn the ships that came against the gods' will to our shore and caused us years of siege, through cowardice of our old counselors, who held me back when I said, 'Battle at the ship's sterns.' They held back soldiers too. In those days, if Zeus, who views the wide world, blocked our hearts, now it is he who cheers and sends us forward." At this they all attacked more furiously, and Aias could no longer hold. The missiles forced him back. He yielded a few paces, thinking his time had come, and left the deck of the trim ship for the 7-foot bench amidships. There he stood fast, alert, with his long pike, to fend off any Trojan with a torch, and kept on shouting fiercely to Danaans, "Friends, Danaan soldiers, hands of Ares, Take a fresh grip on courage. Fight like men. Can we rely on fresh reserves behind us? A compact wall to shield our men from death? Not that, nor any town with towers where we might defend ourselves and find allies enough to turn the tide. No! Here we are, on the coastal plain of Trojans under arms, nothing but open sea for our support, and far from our own country. Safety lies in our own hands, not going soft in battle. Saying this, he made a vicious lunge with his sharp-bladed pike, and any Trojan bound for the decked ships with a blazing torch for Hector's satisfaction would be hit by Aias, waiting there with his long pike. He knocked down 12, close in, before the ships.